Hello. Today's video will be about Life Orb and what happened to Life Orb in black and white. It used to be the premium offensive item, and nowadays you rarely see it. And yet, it might be at the strongest point ever compared to the past. So, a little bit of history first. I prepared 6 months that used to run Life Orb quite often. And these were the sets that you will see for the most part. I'm not sure about Psychic, but I think it's right. So this will be a kind of mix between, the usual defensive Latias profile and a little bit more offensive one. So it was basically a glue for some teams that needed a, say, Keldo switch in, but didn't want Latios is a bit frail to do that. And so you will run this kind of set. Obviously, you will never see anyone run this nowadays, but it used to be quite popular when Black and White was the main gen. Latios, you can still see this set, but not with Life Orb, and we'll see why in a moment. Starmie, same Starmie as today, except with Life Orb over Air Balloon. We were completely oblivious of Air Balloon existing, basically, so it's like, yeah, we'll just attack and do the most damage possible. It was okay because, Starmie is quite strong. You can still run this today. It just needs to be a little bit more careful with health, mostly. This mon completely disappeared off the face of the earth. There's not even a Life Orb problem, it's just this mon is not that good in general. This is the only one that you still see used sometimes. It's a decent set. Gives you rocks, gives you sometimes a surprise kill, or even some teams just can't really switch into this to begin with. Some people are so crazy, well, not necessarily crazy, but they drop rocks because they can fit them elsewhere and run this. But yeah, that's about it. And the last one, you may still see it like once every 50 games, but yeah, nobody really uses this that often anymore. And so what happened to Life Orb? Like, it used to be a staple almost of the metagame, and now it's used on like 3 months, which are, of course, our best friend, Wolf Corona, and our other best friend, Alakazam, and there's another one, maybe. Reun is used sometimes, sure. But this is about it. These are the only 3 months that you will see Life Orb used decently often, and Reuniflux is debatable. Right, so why did these all stop using Life Orb as their main item? The the answer is, well, we figured out that you cannot rely on Life Orb and Sand, as in if you attack with, say, Latias and Sand is up, you lose 16% of your health just by existing, and obviously that's questionable. And while some of these mons can mitigate it, we learn to play around them in a way that, if you can minimize the damage output by decent switches or even just forcing them out and using hazards to hit them, they suddenly lose basically all of their health to accomplish very little. And also we favor a bit sturdier checks for things. So while we still use some of these mons, if not most of them, Hydreigon is the only one we really don't use anymore, but we completely changed the sets that they run. For example, Terrakion, right? So you run this, you can maybe snipe a Landorus with this, that's great, right? But then you lose a big part of what makes Terrakion great, which is its bulk, right? Like, this guy is pretty bulky, 91, 90, 90, and if you run it in Sun, which most people should, it will get a sizable special defense boost, and with that boost, you can tank several hits that will kill most other strong attackers in the same, let's say, power bracket, right? So you also happen to check Volcarona, which is kind of annoying for a lot of Sun teams. But if you run Life Orb, you lose this defensive capability, and what you gain in firepower is hardly worth it in most cases. Garchomp, I mean, this set is still fine, so there's not really, like, this is still used, so this guy is still fine. And of course, it's got the same problem, kind of, right? Because this guy's kind of bulky, 108, 95, 85, and then you drop your special defense because you need to boost your special attack. And so you lose out on a lot of bulk, which would have been nice to have, but at least this guy gets surprise effect and also can get rocks somewhat easily because it forces a lot of switches. So this is still fine. This guy is just not viable, or maybe it is, but definitely not with this set, unless you queue into specific things, but even then, you'd rather have something else. It's fine as a choice scarf user with U-turn, somewhat, but Life Orb, High Dragons, Tollbreaker, even if you drop Dark Pools for boost, which I think used to be way more common, like, even with this, it still dies too quickly and it's too slow, and the typing is what it is. Starmie probably is the main one that really struggles with a Life Orb on if you don't have a way to remove sand, because it does do a lot of damage, of course, but it also dies instantly. The idea, though, is that you're so fast, you will always attack first, almost always. And with this coverage and Life Orb and the special attack, you'll be like, well, I attack first and kill first, and so it's good. But then we've lost a little too many games to just sand Life Orb and not getting to spin with this, and so yeah, we switched to Air Balloon mostly. Shout out Finchinator. Latios and Latias have both switched from Life Orb to their new items, be it Colbur Berry, more choice, more whatever else you want to run on these guys. Lamberry, Colbur, Rocky Helmet, I don't know. Specs, Scarf. Probably not Belt, Soldew, not in the tier. Even like White Hair, for example. Like all of these items. Because these 2 months have become the best way to check several things in the tier. They already were back when we were using Life Orb, but we had not optimized the offensive threats that get stopped by these. So it was enough to have Life Orb Latias, say, to be Keldeo, let's say. But that's not really the case anymore. Both play-wise, like the standard sequences between Keldeo and Latias are now better for the Keldeo, and so you really don't want to cut into your own health by clicking Life or boost moves. Although at least Latios has kind of stayed the same, at least moves-wise. You can run this, but with, say, White Herb, and that's fine. It's still a good mon, or you can run Specs with this, and you can maybe run a trick over Roost or over HP Fire. But at least the moves have stayed the same. This lad, you will never see an offensive Latias ever again, probably. You only like the closest thing to an offensive Latias you see is on those double healing wish builds, and it's something like this. And you will just healing wish your Conch Eldur, for example, with this. Or whatever other mon needs a healing wish. It's not a given that you will wish Conch. Right. So now that you know why Life Orb stopped being used as much, I will show you actually a real world example. And yeah, that's it. Okay, yeah. This is one game where I had Life Orb Starmie, and while it almost made me break through this, you will also see that it dies way too fast. That's it, really. Alright. Okay, not sure I pursued it. Okay, this game is from 2016, so don't ask me why I did what I did. It's been a while. Okay, you turn into Kale. I hard Starmie. And okay, see, for example, here I Ice Beam once. I deal 22%, and I lose 16% health. Not cool, not cool at all. And I hard Volk. And I get burned. Very nice. This guy. Taranitar, goodbye. But it ends. Okay, you will see. But what happens basically is that my Starmie kills itself. Like my opponent doesn't hit it once, and it still dies from 100% to 0. Look at this. And after 2 turns, it's already at half health. And this is really the problem. What's my Volk item? I guess it's Lumberry. Okay. Antorus. Return. Killed. Okay, Grassnot. You turn. And back into Starmie, another round of sand, so another 6%. My Starmie still hasn't been hit once, and it's below half health now. And that's a big issue with Life Orb. Although it does give you more power, yeah, but at what cost? What's my bulk? I believe I'm Giga Drain, but I'm just merely pretending. If I remember correctly, I am Giga Drain Volk. I think I click it soon. Probably I clicked it here and my opponent read it and I lost. Alright. But yeah, very sad. Oh, Choppleberry. Superpower, 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 superpower. Okay, another round of rocks plus sand, minus 20%, and then I attack twice, and my Starmie dies, and yeah, so does the Latios, but I've lost here because, yeah. If I spawn, no, because my this will go to 100%, and I have to U-turn with Lando doesn't kill, so yeah, and there's also this guy. Right, so I think this game is a showcase of what goes wrong if you run Life Orb. But just to show you how prominent it was, I've looked up another game. This is from the same SPL. It's still 2016, so this is the time period where Life Orb was really prevalent. And you will see there are several Life Orb ones in this game. One, the Latios is a Life Orb. Yeah, see, recommit your Life Orb, and then I believe that Garchomp is also Life Orb, but maybe not. Let's see. Earthquake. Oh, it was Life Orb. Yeah, see, this is already 2 Life Orbs revealed in 4 turns. Okay, Breloom, we don't know yet. Dragon not being Scarf is not that common. Breloom could also be Life Orb. We used to use it a lot. And that's another issue that Breloom has ever since it's lost the gem, that you kind of want the power given by Life Orb, but then you're using Life Orb, and if Sand is up, you will just die very quickly. Okay, Life Orb Latios struggling because we also spammed special defensive Skarmory back then. And yep, back into Skarmory. Crit, nice, very nice. Right, at least you can make the case that without Life Orb, it would not have ever killed Skarmory. So that's nice, I guess, but have you seen how much damage it took without ever being attacked? You have Roost, and you're against a team that kind of struggles into Latios after the Skarmory got crit, so there's that. But I don't know. It's still not the best. We don't know if the Breloom was Shuka Berry. Oh, nice. Right, but see, there's several months with Life Orb. There were 2 months with Life Orb, potentially 3 with Breloom. And so it was just a way more common item. And let's now see a bit like this is black and white in 2025 instead. How many life orbs are in this game? Well, I'm going to tell you there is one on the Reun, because I checked before loading the replay. And I don't remember if the Alakazam is life orb, but uh, as you can see, the type of mons that run life orb are completely changed. And while you may thinking, oh yeah, you only showed us 2 replays, you are cherry picking things. Sadly, not really. That's just how black and white goes nowadays. And so, I mean, there's no need to super watch this replay. It was just to show you that one life orb is kind of problematic when you run it on mons that get hit by sand. My first replay especially was a disaster. And see, this was a Roost Dracometeor Latios, but it's now Colbur instead of Life Orb, and that saves it for once. Let's see if the Zam is indeed the Life Orb. If it even has to come out. It has to, right? There's no way. Okay, Zam. Oh, sure. And SPL jump scare. Cool. Nah, it's Sash Zam because this looks like a scarf. Lando. Actually, no, it's Yachiberry, right? Yeah. So this is probably Sash Zam. That damage might. Oh no, it was Life Orb. Right. Yeah, so that's Life Orb, how it changed. And so, but earlier I claimed that it's at its best now compared to the past. And why is that? Well, before we just kind of slapped it on the usual suspects and called it a day. And obviously those struggled somewhat, even like with the more time passed, the better we got at dealing with them. This may very well happen with this new batch of life orb abusers. Reuniclus is not really new. It's always been used here and there, either as a, especially on a trick room set, right? You run this as a finisher of sort. High kick, blast, signal beam probably. This guy has always been used. So there's nothing new about this guy. Now, these two are the biggest culprits of the current power of Life Orb. So of course you have two ways to build this. One, it's the one that's been used mostly as soon as we discovered quote unquote Life Orb Zan, which was this. And since you lose an EV, or speed EV, you can drop speed to 365 and then you run 188. That seems a bit extreme. Something like this. Right, so the idea here is that, well, 365 outspeeds Scarf Tyranitar, who goes up to 364. And then you run a little bit of defense to not die to Tyranitar's Pursuit. I'm not sure 88 is the, the right one. It's the right one, but let's give it a quick check. Calc is always nice to have. And I'm adding 88. And so Pursuit will, even from 88 Adamant, although nowadays most Tyrant run 0, so that's kind of unnecessary in a sense. In fact, the whole so what prompted the switch in Zan, like nowadays if you face Life or Zan, you will probably run into a set like this one instead. Last one, I don't know what the last one is. Maybe this. We went back to the good old Max, and that's because we don't. If you run the ice move, you don't lose speed EVs anymore. So you can run max speed and actually beat other Alcazams, or at least tie them. But how come we went from this to this? Like, Tarantar is still as used as ever, so why do we suddenly feel like safe running 0 defense anyway? And the answer is that while, for example, the set, let's go back to this, while the set here runs, while the set here runs 88 attack adamant, which used to be for Reuniclus, and so you need the defense elves, because without, as you can see, Pursuit almost always annihilates you, even if you don't switch out. Crunch does 200% minimum, so yeah, that's a non-starter. But now a lot of Volcaronas switched to a Life Orb set, and that's a big problem for Tyranitar. You just run Modest and Life Orb, and this is what happens, okay? So if you run... It's not even in Builder, man. Okay, so let's say you run this, and you're at +1. Okay. So the problem here is that if your Tyranitar takes rocks once, versus Modest Volk after a Bugbuds, Volk has a 75% to 1-hit KO it, and so Tyranitar switched back to running max special defense, which gives them a much better... In fact, wait, insect plate. So, oops. Right. So anyway, now it's only got a 31% chance to kill you with rocks up. It's still not ideal, obviously, but it's the best we can do. Because if we again go back to the other set, it's a guaranteed 1-hit KO after Stealth Rock, and even without, there's a 43% chance. And so Tyranitars have swapped back to max special defense. But they had to sacrifice their attack AVs, right? And so from 88 adamant to 0 and neutral nature, there's what? You lose like 54 attack stat, and suddenly it's not enough to one hit KO Alakazam anymore, even if they run 0 EVs. Um, and so it's kind of greedy in a sense, but also it's just you don't die anymore to pursue it. It's not even close. Oh, okay, wait. It's a little bit closer, come on. But it's you still don't one hit KO, so now the Tyranitar has to guess what play it wants to go for. Do you crunch or do you pursue it? Which is kind of a big deal, right? Because what used to be a easy click pursuit, forget about it, now becomes a careful consideration that could win or lose the game on the spot, or especially lose if you get it wrong. You probably don't win if you get it right. And so Life Orb distorted the metagame way more recently than it did when we used it a lot more often. Like when all of these were used and you could see more than like you could see several in the same game, as I showed you. None of these was as I don't want to say game breaking because I don't think Volk is game breaking. Zam maybe, but that's a conversation for another video. But they were part of the meta. They weren't meta defining. Whereas all of like these two guys are meta defining with Life Orb to the point they one of them forced Tyranitar to drop the attack EVs and maximize special defense. And so the other one could drop the 88 defense EVs and go back to the more basic version of Max. And so I'm plus like the teams themselves almost changed. Some teams didn't really. They just shifted from you having to rely on Latios to be the main psychic attacker. Now they can swap things around. So you can run Zam as the breaker with either of these two, and use Latios as, say, the revenge killer or just general purpose surviving stuff. Using it more of a defensive, like an offensive answer to other offensive threats, say Kelde or Terrakion. Or at least switch into them. That's the main thing, right? I mean, obviously Akazam can also revenge kill those easily, but that is a little bit better at switching into them. And as for Volk, we have entire archetypes that devoted to using Volcarona to open up holes in the enemy team and then win with Conkeldurr, or the other way around. And you can just attack with this a couple of times, then Inguish it up, and you have Giga Drain to recover any eventual Life Orb recoil damage, which is always nice to have. This guy still the same for the most part. So yeah. And so that's where Life Orb leaves us. And any underrated Life Orb users, probably none that I can think of, because most of these don't want, like, Mamo was also a big Life Orb user, and even for this guy we stopped completely running Life Orb, because Never Melt Ice kind of does the same, but without the recoil, and it's nice to have health on your Mamo. Okay, not sure why this simulator decided that I should have 0 attack EVs, but sure. Because you have so much HP and okay defense that you become at least a moderately successful check of something like Dragonite. Whereas if you have Life Orb, after like 2 rounds and maybe a switch on to rocks, you are in range of +1 extreme speed, and that means your Mamo stops being a check to some dragons, especially Dragonite, but also in general. Like, if you get a couple of plays wrong, you just lose so much bulk, and eventually you completely stop being able to check things. And So we moved from Life Orb to normal ties usually. Anything else? Probably not. None of these monsters Life Orb. I mean, Lucario does. If you ever face a Lucario, it's going to be Life Orb. So I guess there's this guy. Nobody runs Lucario, but when you see one, it's going to be Life Orb. And that's it, really. Cure Black Ops, no. Keldeo, no. Lando, no. Latios, no. Zone, nah. But yeah, that's it. Life Orb went from we see two, 3 life orbs per game to now we only see it on a couple of months, and yeah, that's it. Because everything else kind of fell off. You can still use again, of course, you can still use Life Orb Garchomp, for example. This one still works, and same with Starmie. If you run Starmie in Rain, you can 100% use Life Orb. In fact, that might be the better option. They just default into Balloon every time, but the rest just don't bother. Yeah. All right, that's it. And should we ban Life Orb? Someone suggested it because Volk and Zam kind of feel a bit too strong with Life Orb, Zam especially. But I mean, it's not happening anytime soon because SPL is right around the corner, and then we'll have to wait until SPL ends and then see if someone figures out a way either to abuse Alakazam so hard that Finchinator finally bans it. Yeah, I'm blaming Finchinator for this one, as usual. You should always blame Finchinator. He's I don't know. He's the boss of everything, right? He's the chief operating officer or whatever it's called. So it's his fault. That's it. Satire, by the way, in case it wasn't obvious. It's not Finchinator's fault. Maybe. Hopefully. It's a combination of things and people, not just one guy, right? But yeah, should we ban Life Orb again? It's not happening, right? There's no grounds for banning it. Even if it made these two super mega broken to the point it wasn't controversial, you cannot ban an item that isn't broken in the overwhelming majority of cases. And if you look at what items are actually banned. What is it? Sold you, obviously, insane item. It's a free Calma into the Lati, so that's out of the question. And the other one is Gems that kind of broke like 10 months at the very minimum. And so it's like, yeah, but do we want to make a case for banning 10 months or do we want to make a case for banning one item? And so we went with the item. And yeah, that's it really. Life Orb conversely only really makes these two very strong to the point of maybe being slightly overpowered, but it doesn't make everything else overpowered, or in fact it's often detrimental to the other mons. So yeah, that's it. And yeah, that's my history of Life Orb, I guess. And thanks for watching and see you the next time.